So Jackie is back, and Jackie, we should reflect on the breaking news that we brought people at the top of the hour, that Sky News understands that the English FA is set to follow Wales, who were the first country to withdraw their support for Gianni Infantino of FIFA. So already a second country is following Wales's lead.
Yeah, and you'd expect like many more of those letters to start appearing because we know that UEFA, they have said all 55 of our members are going to call for a vote of no confidence, and CONCACAF seem very much joined in with them as well. Obviously, they stopped short of saying we're going to boycott the World Cup if you go ahead with your plans, and of course those plans aren't now going to go ahead. But let's see how many countries actually come out and make a statement. Let's talk to Henry Winter, actually, football journalist. Joins us now. Henry, you were at the World Cup. I think you had a couple of run-ins with FIFA, or discussions, shall we say. What does this mean? The Welsh FA have withdrawn their support from Gianni Infantino. The English FA are set to do the same, even if there are 90 letters withdrawing support from Infantino, who had a lot of support before this whole debacle. Will it do anything? Will he be forced to resign?
I mean, that's what UEFA are hoping. That's what many people in football are hoping, including one or two people within FIFA itself. I mean, these letters are obviously important, as you say, the English FA following the Welsh FA. So around 200 of the 211 member associations effectively, implicitly gave Infantino their support for the next March's election in Rabat for another 4-year term. And Infantino thought this was just going to be a straightforward procession. But obviously the events of the last 2 weeks have just absolutely cast a cloud over that. What is interesting is that, OK, so the FA and the Welsh FA are saying we're not going to support you in March. But what is far more significant is what is actually going to happen now, because I think there are a lot of people who want him to resign. You see Infantino here in one of his rare public outings or press outings. They want him to go now because he's taken this great sport and the world game to the brink of civil war, and only by him standing down is the game going to be reunited again. And then, of course, it's just a question of who steps in. The General Secretary, Mateusz Grafstrom, who's sort of untainted by Infantino's scandal, he could come in or step up as a sort of interim figure while the world sorts out who should be the next leader and the right leader, someone who listens, someone who's accountable, someone who doesn't just be seduced by the idea of rubbing shoulders with the rich and powerful.
I had a little chat with FIFA last night to try and understand the process, because it's quite complicated and there seems various ways that he could be removed, but none of them are particularly fast. Tell me what you know about the FIFA Council. So 37 members. I understand that if 19 were to step forward, and they could trigger a vote of no confidence, and then that could happen quite quickly. Do you think there are 19 on that council who would oppose Gianni Infantino?
I think there probably are. I think so many of them are disgusted by his behaviour and obviously in tune with the reaction around the world. You've been covering it. It's been all over social media, all over the newspapers, all over the world. Obviously, there's some bastions of support in Africa and one or two parts of Asia still for Infantino. And it'll be interesting to see whether he rushes through his plans to hand out some of the money, because FIFA do have substantial sums in reserve, which they could dish out without necessarily having to rush off to Wall Street and his billionaire mates, and also whether they rush through the idea of a 64-team World Cup for 2030, which would obviously bring in a lot of support and a lot of sympathy and maybe one or two votes from around the world of those countries who are desperate to actually get their hands on the World Cup. I mean, you see the FIFA Peace Prize, which he gave to Donald Trump, which almost triggered or certainly accelerated the concerns, some within the building and absolutely externally around the world. Has Infantino lost the plot? Has he become so seduced by power, by rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous? And actually, he needs to focus on what was actually a good World Cup and focus on what his job should be about, which is about his service to the game, not what the game can do for him.
And there are reports, aren't they, even before the whole plot to sell off the World Cup, albeit a small part of it, Before that, there were questions that needed answering by Infantino. There were members of FIFA who thought, you should be answering questions about the overturning of the red card of Balogun. You should be answering questions about cutting the game up into quarters and introducing drinks breaks without really asking everyone if they're okay with it. There are questions. Yeah. There are questions to answer apart from this whole debacle.
Absolutely. You can rewind a year and Messi, his Inter Miami team, effectively being parachuted into the Club World Cup. What have they actually done to deserve to be there ahead of other teams? You could look at Cristiano Ronaldo's the sort of lifting of his suspension, 2-game suspension for the group stage with Portugal, because obviously Infantino wants the big names to be on show, because that also brings in the big bucks from TV. So, and as you say, events at the World Cup, the White House's influence or interference, certainly the call for review into Balogun, as you say, that meddled with the disciplinary process, didn't help the Americans in the end, actually, probably backfired. As you say, the commercial invasion of the game with the mid-half breaks, the hydration breaks as they were called, commercial breaks as most sane people called them. So events like that. I mean, his fitness to govern. I mean, if you were a referee, Jackie, and you were looking at him and thinking, shall I give him a second yellow card? You would just look all over the field, do a totting up process, and say, off you go, mate.
If only it were that easy. What do you think he's thinking right now, Infantino? Do you think he's thinking, I'm going to dig in here because if this is delayed till the March vote, I probably could still get 106, which is all I need to remain in power? Or is he thinking something else?
I think probably the former. I think there's an arrogance and a naivety to him. I don't think he's necessarily taking the best of advice. So what the sort of in a way the good guys of football, and a lot of them headed by UEFA, need to do now is actually exactly what they're doing, is exerting the pressure. You've seen reports today of legal action being threatened against Infantino by UEFA. I mean, this really is now a civil war. I mean, it's almost Shakespearean when you've got parts of the same family warring against each other. And so the pressure will absolutely ratchet up on Infantino. They'll try to isolate him within FIFA. Then, FIFA is an organization of 960 odd, some of them very odd, employees. And a lot of them must be absolutely aghast about this. The other thing is, you're showing the pictures here of FIFA's base in Switzerland. Swiss law is quite labyrinthine and complicated to negotiate. So I just hope there are one or two people who he does listen to, maybe even Trump says, listen, mate, you're an embarrassment now. You've got to stand down.
And just ever so briefly, is there any outstanding candidate who would be better to replace him?
I think at the moment the logical step is to put, it's almost like a sort of football club where a manager leaves and you look at someone in the academy who can step up and sort of steady the ship. Mm-hmm. And Matthäus Grafström, the very sort of sane Swede, some of us spoke to him during the World Cup. He's a very balanced figure. He's not tainted by the Infantino scandal. Put him in, calm down, and whether it's Sheikh Salman or whether they're good individuals at CONCACAF can put themselves forward for the sort of the formal ceremony, as it were, in Rabat in March. But action needs taken now. I mean, Infantino needs really to go this week, and someone like Grafström just step in, steady the ship, and reunite this great game.
Oh, Henry, the optics are not great, are they? And March is a very long time away. Let's see what happens. Thank you.